प्रॉब्ली वेडनेसडे को होगा, वेडनेसडे या थर्सडे को।
यस, बहुत लंबा प्रोग्राम, बहुत दिन से।
हाँ चलता है सर, ये 2 हफ्ते का तो प्रोग्राम हो जाता है, 1 हफ्ते में इनाग्रेशन होता है, 1 हफ्ते में वैलिडिक्शन होता है सर।
ये फोर्थ का भी शुरू होने वाला है ना सर, फोर्थ बैच फोर्थ?
क्या क्या सर?
बैच फोर्थ का भी शुरू होने वाला है ना?
हाँ, बैच 4 हम लोग 26 से प्लान कर रहे हैं, तो उसका कंफर्मेशन भी आने वाला है। तो जैसे ही गेस्ट का कंफर्मेशन आ जाता है, चीफ गेस्ट का, तो वैसे हम लोग उसको इनाग्रेट कर देंगे। तो दो दो डिपेंडेंसी रहती है फिर, इनाग्रेशन का और वैलिडिक्शन का, बाकी हम लोग अपना शेड्यूल कर लेते हैं।
इम्पोर्टेंट।
यस, these are probably today's expert engineer Ajit Kumar Mishra has also joined.
Yes, good afternoon to all of you. I have already joined.
So nice. And dear sir, as we have briefed about the program, this is the AICT associated program, All India Council for Technical Education. And this program is for young engineering faculties of civil, electrical, mechanical, electronics, and computer engineering branches. These participants are assistant professor and associate professor. Basically, this is a program designed for the assessment of the engineering students and young faculties by developing multiple choice questions of a higher level. Basically, the concept is that the academicians, young academicians, are good in their academia field, in their core subjects, but there is some lacking with the knowledge and experience of the industry requirement, and the knowledge and the skill being required, being expected by the industry. So, Construction Industry Development Council, in association with the All India Council for Technical Education, has have planned this type of program through which the academia will directly interact with the industry. So we are inviting very seniors and renowned personalities from the industry to interact with the academia. So, sir, with your due permission, let us start the session formally. Dear academicians, we are really very privileged and honored to have today's expert, Engineer Ajit Kumar Mishra, uh, and we are really very happy that he has accepted our request to address the uh, August gathering. The introduction of the Ajit engineer of today's expert engineer Ajit Kumar Mishra has been shared in the group. But in brief, uh, engineer Ajit Kumar Mishra is alumnus of IIT Kanpur and IIM Kolkata. He has undergone training in international procurement, project management, risk management, and infrastructure financing. He has around 20 years work experience with Indian Railways in different capacities in construction of railway track, train operations, and human resource management. He is a certified professional, having vast experience in the field of project management, procurement, contract management, infrastructure financing, and dispute resolution. Presently, he is working with Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation as Chief Project Manager, which is constructing railway track for exclusive transport of freight traffic to decongest Indian railway track. He has been instrumental in formulating model concession agreement for PPP concessionaire, preparation and evaluation of technical bid document, selection of consultants for legal and technical documents, and liaison with different stakeholders. He has also been involved in procurement of works being conducted through international competitive bidding at design and build contract based on performance specification, its execution through specialized project management consultants, and coordination with lending agency. He is extending services as resource person to United Nations Economic Commission for Europe (UNECP) as PPP roster expert, UNECEP UNECEP CIDC faculty for PPP program, IMA on procurement and Institute of Management Studies, IMS Ghaziabad. He has delivered numerous lectures and talks on the project management, procurement, and contract management in IIT Delhi, IIT Patna, World Bank, Railways, and many other institutes in several countries. He is also extending his services as arbitrator, dispute board member, mediator, and conciliator in adjudication of disputes. Privileged to share that he has received several awards during services, including National Awards of Outstanding Service, highest award given by the Government of India to an officer. So far, with this brief introduction, we are inviting you to interact with young faculties, and now we are handing over session to you. So far, please.
Very good afternoon to all of you, and thank you, Mr. Mishra, for generous introduction. Let's see how best I am able to do justice with the kind words throughout this session. As I have been told that the participants of this session are the faculty members of engineering colleges, and definitely they do have a bigger responsibility of shaping up the future technocrats of the country. But the academic institutions and we working in industry do have very close relationship, and the relationship between academia and industry is iterative. I should say that it is iterative in the context that what technology is available is being taught in engineering colleges, and then based on that available technology, industry works. But during the implementation of those technical concepts in industry, some innovations, some improvisations do happen, and the industry gives feedback to those new aspects to academicians, who in turn devise further new technologies for further implementation in the industry. So it is a very good fora where this kind of interaction has been planned thanks to AICTE for this kind of innovative conducting innovative interaction between academia and industries. I am basically a civil engineer, graduated in civil engineering from IIT Kanpur. Later on, joined railways and acquired skills of project management, contract management, and other skills related to infrastructure planning and financing. But as a project head, I do interact with different technical persons having different skill sets. Like civil engineers are also in my team, electrical engineers are also in my team, mechanical, electronics, and all sort of people are there, including the finance and HR personnel. Basically, a project is amalgamation and effective working of all these sector experts. In today's session, I'll not be going deep into any of the technical aspects, but what I will do, I'll present how a best combination of all the technical expertise is required for the successful delivery of the project, and then specifically I will address that what is the requirement of infrastructure sector, and particularly the transport sector, and I also address what is the specific financing procedure for a railway project, and why this financing and a focus on railway financing is required for the overall growth of the country. In the end, I'll conclude and I'll be concentrating towards the railways and railway financing. Why, as I told and present during my session, but to begin with, you may be wondering that why I am imparting so much emphasis on railway and railway financing is firstly because I am a railway officer, basically have served over more than 20 years in railway Ministry of Railway. Secondly, the higher and higher use of railway is the need of the country. So allow me to share my presentation, and with this background, I'll take you directly to my presentation. I hope my screen is visible to all of you.
Yes, now it is coming.
Okay.
Yes, sir. 7. Divisible, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for patience. My presentation scheme covers these points. First, I'll let you know about the different rail systems existing and the coming into future. Then what is the need for future ready rail system? And then I'll be discussing about the key determinants in financing a rail project. Then what are the funding options available to us as a citizen of India? And then what are the takeaways for this presentation to you as faculty members? These are the different rail systems in addition to the rail system which you all to which all of us are aware, like the passenger trains and freight trains, which we are seeing. In addition to that, we have monorail system, which is elevated single rail track. Here only single rail is there on which the carriage is moving. It is suitable for fixed route through heavily built up area. It is a low cost train, but definitely the capacity is also less than. Then we have metro system. Delhi Metro is one of the classic example of that, and it is also iconic to that context, that it has put India into the world map of effective.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir, for the interruption. Actually, slides are not moving, sir.
Okay, I'm at the. Are you able to see this slide? Different rail systems.
Yes, sir. Only the first slide we can see.
Okay,
It's a topic. That's all.
Let me represent that, and before that, let me put the slide number.
Yes,
Now it is okay,
now.
sir.
It is coming now. Different rail systems slide is coming now.
Okay. The slide number 4 is visible now to all of you. Yeah.
It's showing different rail systems, sir.
Yeah, that's there. At the bottom, the slide number also I have put. So I discussed about the monorail system. It is suitable for fixed rail route through built-up area, and it is a low-cost train system. Then we have metro rail system. The Delhi Metro is a classic example, and its successful operation has put India into that league of developed countries which are operating metro railways. It is fully segregated with the existing road traffic and the railway systems. It is a high capacity urban rail system suitable for dense cities public transport network. Then we have high speed rail systems. In India, we don't have as such as of now. But yes, Delhi-Mumbai high-speed rail corridor is under construction, and very soon we'll be able to implement that high-speed rail system in India also. And these high-speed rail systems are typically called so because where they have a speed of 250 kilometers or so. But to put it in proper perspective, the existing rail system is having maximum speed of 165 kilometers as of now. So see the difference, quantitative difference between the speed of the normal rail system which we are having and the high speed rail system which is now being planned in Delhi Metro. Basically, you can say the whole genesis of this presentation is the debate between what is the need of high speed rail system in country like India, where a lot of poverty is there, and why not to have this kind of low cost public transport system. So during the course of discussion, I'll be touching on these two extreme concepts, to have the speed versus the mass transport. Then freight rail systems. In India, our rail system is common to both freight and public, but for the last few years, this dedicated freight system is also under implementation. A part of that has already been implemented, and further more corridors are under conceptualization and construction. With this basic background of different rail systems, let me talk to you about what is the need for future ready rail system. Why do we need that? Need is that any transport system is linked to the logistics system. The logistic costs are connected to your GDP growth. If you are having higher logistic cost, definitely the cost of your products which are not being produced locally will increase. And how much that increased cost have an impact on the cost is a real need of worry. As of now, the logistic costs are very high in India, and it is said an estimate is there which is concluding that 4.3% of GDP is being wasted because of poor logistics. Like what we are seeing, that the poor trucks, slow moving trains, and other inferior transport modes are creating a loss of 4.3% of GDP to the country. And believe me, it is a very high figure. It is a very high figure. And so you as an academician do have a responsibility to address the issues which are causing these losses through your technological inputs and improvement in the existing technology. What government has planned, that it has come up with a National Rail Plan 2030 to be implemented by 2030, where railway is to make the transportation more efficient, greener, and modern, which will translate into cheaper, safer, and assured mode of transport to the common man, be it in passenger or freight segment. Then the strategies based on both operational capacities and commercial policy initiatives to increase modal share of the railways in freight to 45% and to continue to sustain it. Let me ponder a little bit more on this sentence, that presently the share of railway in overall transport is about 30%. It is going down, and this 30% was few years back, and it is still going down, and about 60% and 60 to 65% of transportation is happening through roads. What does it mean? That means that India's logistics sector is depending largely on road transportation. Fine. I, being a railway person, why I am arguing that you use more and more rail sector? Just because I am a railway person, or is there any scientific reason to that? I do emphasize that.
Sorry to interrupt. Basically, slide is not moving.
I am at slide number 6.
No, it is showing slide number 4, different rail systems.
Okay. Is it there?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, now the slide number 6 is coming. Need for future ready rail system. Now it is showing slide number 6.
6. All
Yeah.
4 points, all 4 bullet points are visible.
Yes, points are visible.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So I was talking about the need of future ready rail system, that the present modal share between road and railways is about 65 to 30%, and remaining 5% by waterways and airways. So this skewed share between the road and railways are affecting the countries not only on the logistic cost but also on the environmental concerns. Why? Because road transport is costlier as compared to railway sector, and the pollution induced by road transportation is much more than the transportation by railways. On, you can take any basis, either you take the basis of transportation of 1 ton material by 1 kilometer, on that is on the per ton per kilometer basis, or whatever on by moving to a common distance or so. On either terms, the road transportation is costlier and less eco-friendly as compared to rail transportation. So to reduce the logistic cost and to improvise the environment, we need to increase the modal share of railways. And that's what the government of India has mandated in its national rail plan, that the modal share of railways to increase to 45%. And then to continue sustain it. Why this is also important? Because when the country got its independence and the Indian Railways got unified in 1951, at that time most of the transportation was happening through rails, and the rail share was close to 80% or even that. So since the 80% share in 1951, it has reduced to 27-30% in 2020. And this reduction is definitely affecting the cost. So when the national rail plan is envisaging that the share should increase to 45%, and it should continue on that level. It should not happen that once you achieve the 45% and then you keep starting nosediving. It's no, you sustain that, and then only the things will be better. Then another mandate is to reduce the transit time of freight substantially by increasing average speed of freight trains to 50 km per hour. And see, even as on date, our expectation is so modest that we are aiming at 50 kmph. But we will be surprised to know that it is not less than 100% increase in the existing average speed. Like presently, the average speed of freight trains are 25 to 27 kilometer per hour. That's all. And that is the one of the reasons why the transporters are avoiding rail transportation and they are approaching road for the transportation, though being costlier. Another mandate of government is to create capacity ahead of demand, which in turn would also cater to future growth in demand right up to 2050. That means, as of now, you also have suffered as a customer that when you go to railway for booking your consignment, they may say that today's train there is no capacity. You come after 3-4 days, or they may altogether refuse that they don't have any capacity. Already their wagons and containers are full, so they are not able to transport your goods. So this happens. That means the railways is running short of capacity, and that capacity augmentation is very important and crucial. How this future ready system is going to be implemented, I'll be discussing on that now. This slide number 8 is visible to all of you.
No, sir. 6.
We are
Action plan for future ready rail system.
yeah, now it is coming action plan for future ready rail system.
Okay. So how this ambitious plan of increasing rail modal share and increasing additional capacity is going to happen, that action plan is here. First, accelerated implementation of certain critical projects by next 2 years is required. And what are those critical projects? Those are 100% electrification. Why this electrification is required? You all may be knowing that electric traction is much cheaper and eco-friendly as compared to diesel or steam traction. Steam traction is now completely stopped, and railways is switching almost completely to electrified traction against the diesel traction. Then multi-tracking of congested routes, the routes where we are having heavy traffic, there the multi-tracking is being done, like double tracks are being tripled, and even 5 number of tracks are being constructed. As yesterday you might have heard the news that Honorable Prime Minister opened 5th and 6th track near Thave. Then upgradation of speed to 160 kmph on Delhi Howrah and Delhi Mumbai. As I was telling a while back, that maximum speed is 165 kilometer, and that was in a very short length between Delhi, Agra, you can say. And beyond that, up to Howrah, it is not so. It is 130 kilometer as of now, but we are planning to increase it to 160 kilometer. Then upgradation of speed to 130 kmph on other routes. These routes have been identified very critical, this golden quadrilateral and golden diagonal. What is golden quadrilateral? Let me explain to you. You connect all 4 metros, like Delhi to Mumbai, Mumbai to Chennai, Chennai to Kolkata, and then Kolkata to Delhi is one golden quadrilateral. And then you connect the diagonals, like Mumbai to Kolkata and Delhi to Chennai. These will be 2 diagonals. So these are called GQGD, golden quadrilateral, golden diagonal routes. So on these routes, the existing maximum speed is 110 kilometer. We are planning to increase it to 130 kilometer. Then elimination of all level crossings on this GQGD routes. Then implementation of new dedicated freight corridors. 2 corridors are already under implementation and 3 more corridors are under planning stage. New high-speed corridors, one high-speed corridor, that is Delhi-Mumbai, is under implementation, and further are at conceptual level, not even at planning level, rather at conceptual level. Then sustained involvement of private sector in areas like operation and ownership of rolling stock. Rolling stock is the we call the wagons or coaches or even engines. Those are collectively called rolling stock. Then development of freight and passenger terminals, development operation of track infrastructure. All these, if implemented, will give India an edge in reducing its overall logistic cost. And these have these have been planned by 2024, the completion of critical projects, and the other points are to be implemented by 2030 through National Rail Plan. Then, if you have identified your projects or your requirements, then you need the fund for that also. And how the fund is going to come, let me talk about that. Are you able to see the slide? Slide number 10, key determinants for financing rail projects.
No, sir. Slide 8.
Okay.
Key determinants for financial rail projects.
No?
Yes, sir. Slide 10.
Slide 10. Okay. This 6-7 points you are able to see?
Sir, land acquisition and resettlement is
Yeah,
resettlement of people.
that's it. Here, this slide presents how a rail project is different as compared to other projects, be it a highway project or any other project. Because rail project is a linear project, although road project is also linear project, but road project has a bit of flexibility of alignment. If there is any constraint, it is easier to divert road alignment, but it is not so with rail alignment, because rails are mostly moving in a straight, and any curvature adversely reduces the speed of the train. So that way, rail alignment is a bit, you can say, complicated. And therefore, the land acquisition becomes a bit tricky for a rail project. Because, as I told, that it cannot shift here or there. So whether any critical settlement is coming, be it a religious structure or be it densely habited area, we have to perforce eliminate those things because there is little flexibility in rail alignment. Then over the period, the budget of railway projects has been reduced, and because of its, again, the cost versus the earning versus expenditure ratio, there has been severe cuts on the project expenses. And railways projects are complex as compared to roads. It's easier to understand. There are so many stakeholders like These signaling systems are very complex. Then traction, the OHE, overhead equipments, are also very complex. Then infrastructure technology is complex, resource intensive and expensive. These are not available readily in local market, and the safety requirement of the railway system mandates that these technologies and equipments are procured through specialized and specific vendors only. Then return on investment is long, typically of 30 years or so. So if you are constructing a new line between two stations, then your zero period is break-even period is close to 30 years. Then integration with other modes are also required, because you cannot construct a railway line or railway station in isolation. You need to give the connectivity with the roads and preferably with other modes. Then you have also felt that there had been severe political intervention in the railway projects, particularly. The local ministers have been pursuing and insisting on construction of railway lines in their area, irrespective of any financial justification. So that has affected not only the profitability of the railways, but also the very operational requirement of the railways as well. With this general project related constraints, let me talk to you the specific requirement of the railway project. That I was talking about the signaling system, then I was talking about the electrical traction system. Then if you present this kind of chart where the involvement of public sector and private sector is considered, and
Sir, sorry, sir. Slide is stained, sir.
okay.
Okay, sir. Now it's visible, sir.
Right. Okay. So if you present a bubble diagram where the involvement of public sector and private sector is envisaged, considering the criticality of the that function, here you can see that in terms of criticality, the signaling system is considered critical most, and that's why it has been placed under public sector. That the thing which I was telling, that we procure the technology and equipment from very limited sources, and that too through the, say, public sector also. Similarly, the track system, certain things have been a bit relaxed as compared to signaling system. Then on the extreme right end, you can say the food services, where the criticality is low, and that has been entrusted to private sector. Like in the trains, you can find the food being served by the private agencies. So this will appreciate, this will put you in proper perspective, that how the criticality and how railways are not opening to common private sector for its operation. It is because of this criticality diagram. Now coming to the funding options which here we are having. Now I am opening the slide number 13. What I'll do, I'll close and reopen. I think all of you are now at slide 13.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So funding, I was talking about that it comes through different sources, and I'll be further deliberating on that. But just to put you in a kind of proper perspective, these are the two newspaper clippings of a year apart or so. The first one, the Economic Times of March 2021, where the rating agency ICRA is saying that private sector can help increase funding options for rail infra. What that means that the rating agency is expecting that private sector will come and help funding in rail infrastructures. But a year later, the another newspaper clipping of February 11, 2022, what it is saying that as wait gets longer for PPP fund, railway fallbacks on direct funding for station development projects. That means where it was expected that private sector should come and support rail infra, the scenario is not that rosy, and railways is waiting longer and longer for coming up of private investment. Now railway is reverting back for direct funding. This direct funding means the funding by the government. Just a highlight of that, and later on I'll deliberate a little bit more on this. Please bear with me. I'm loading the another slide. Okay. So are you able to? Is it visible now? This.
Yes, visual slide number 15, new funding options.
Okay. Some problems from my end.
Slide new funding options.
Okay. Okay, sorry for this technical glitch. Now my presentation has started. I hope you are able to see the slide number 14 now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, slide number 14 is visible now.
It is hanging at this slide. Let me restart. Please bear with me for a few moments. Okay. Is it visible now? This funding option? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This slide, it is hanging, so I'll just skip through this. The funding option is a simple topic. What is the conventional funding? It is firstly, in most of the government funded things, the funding comes directly from the government. Then another funding option could be the long-term debt fund, where borrowings from market is being done. Then another mode of funding is borrowing with government collateral and sovereign guarantees. Then this multilateral funding, like funding from World Bank, ADB, and other international agencies. Then this PPP is private funding with some kind of stakeholding in the project. So these are the broad categories of funding. But so far, in the last since the independence and having this kind of funding modes, you are also feeling you must have felt that the investment on the infrastructure development is not that appropriate or adequate. And even in the starting with good infrastructure investments, like where the big investments were done, the need of the country is much more than that. Although it is not that significant as compared to the GDP percentage, which I'll tell later on in the next slide, but still the requirement is much more. And definitely our experience is that through the existing funding options, it is not possible to get it done. So we have to think beyond that, and we have to implement new funding options. And what are that? I have I'm presenting some of the practices in international arena, how the other countries are funding their investment projects, their infra projects, and what actions we had taken in the recent years. So one of the new funding options is being considered is the tax increment financing. It is one of the very novel concept, and it is being implemented in extensively in US and also in Europe. And now, in indirect terms, India is also following that. And what is that? Let me read it out. That it allows local authorities to borrow against future growth in revenue from taxes. The principle behind the mechanism is that a railway project will lead to increased tax revenue, such as property tax, as a result of an area benefiting from the improved public transport network and land values increasing as a result. So government can then use these future increased revenues to borrow from financial institutions and fund the upfront development and construction cost of the railway project. Basically, this concept, although being used in US and other countries, in India, this is being used but in not in organized sector, rather in unorganized sector. This colonizers or this real estate developers, they are doing what? They are borrowing a barren piece of land. They are making some developments and of roads and connecting some electricity lines and then pipes, water pipelines, and they escalate the land value very significantly. The concept, the same concept, if implemented for a railway project or for that purpose, any highway project or any other infra project, it will be benefited, and the revenue generated, thus generated, can be used in funding back that infra project. So this concept is apparently very simple, but not being used in a very structured manner, but can be harnessed for a very good return and amount of investment. The other concept is the rail property development model, and the basis of this is it is based on the transferring the increase in the value of property at a location from transport access to finance infrastructure development. As transport system develops, the value of land in that area increases. So tapping the increase in the value of land to fund transport projects is an option for financing. And to harness this, Indian Railways has set up one particular authority for that, Railway Land Development Authority. And they are doing good in identifying the spaces where the future development can happen, and based on that, they are harnessing the returns. Another funding option. Are you able to see the slide number 17?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the another funding option is the hypothecated or earmarked taxes. The hypothecated tax is a tax in which the revenues, whole or in part, collected are used for particular purpose rather than going to the central government budget. Then tax revenues are collected to be used for specific means rather than with general taxes which are later allocated by the government on different things. What happens as of now, that even for the tax you pay for, say, registration of a vehicle or road permit, while registering a vehicle, that tax or that amount is not being used directly for development of vehicular traffic related issues like providing road signals or widening of roads or whatnot. That is not directly used, rather it go to some central kitty, and from there, based on the allocation, the money is allocated for different purposes. Like that percentage will go for the roads, that much for sewerage, that much for electricity and whatnot. This concept is to directly allocate the collections from that. In that, what will happen, that more and more that services or that infrastructure facility gets utilized, more and revenue will be generated. In turn, more and more taxes will be generated, which will be again being reinvested in that infra facility, which will be helpful in keeping that facility in good fettle and further developing that facility. So seems good. So far, that particular facility is working well. It seems good, but it has on the hindsight, those facilities which are basically social sector services, there the returns may not be that good, and that means there, if we are implementing this concept, it is going to affect that facility. So there, the funding from other sources, maybe the direct funding from the government, will be required. But if your infra project is going well, you can definitely think of this mode of revenue generation. And coming to the another funding options, this is not the new funding option, rather it is the existing one. But yes, how you are going to harness or tap this private finance is a real key and a skill of the project manager or the project authorities. Where the governments are typically operating on budget deficits, we need to go for the private finance, and the existing capital stock in the finance market can be tapped for the railway project or any other infra project. In the private finance, the arithmetic is very eye-catching. Are you able to see this slide number 19?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the pension funds, sovereign wealth fund, insurance companies, and the other institutional investors manage about $50 trillion capital stock. And infrastructure accounts for less than 1% of this pool. You see the irony, stark contrast between the two. Everywhere we see the infrastructure, but that is less than 1% of the total capital stock of the world. And even tapping a little bit of that entire capital will help infrastructure growing so beautifully and so modern. So this has to be implemented. I mean, for the better infrastructure too. And the other countries are using that. I have given you the two examples where the Manila Metro, they have tapped on through the private investment and through taxing the capital stocks. I mean, not directly private investment like some big billionaire is coming and funding that project. It's not that. It's through this this capital stock funding. Then the Bangkok SkyTrain is also through that mode of funding. In India also, we have so much of capital stock. You will see the volumes in this Sensex and the stock market. And even a little bit of tinkering in that can help development of infrastructure in India much better than any other developed country. So I have talked about the funding options. Recently, Indian Railways has adopted this two models, taking experience from the earlier lessons. And this overall investment of 38.2 lakhs crore is envisaged by Indian Railways by 2051 under National Rail Plan. And how this 38.2 lakhs crore is coming is big question, as only 30% of this is coming through the gross budgetary support, that is the funding from the government. Remaining 70%, it has to come through institutional finance and other participative financing like PPP or the kind of funding I was suggesting. But that framework is not yet fixed, and based on that, I have presented that these are the options available to us, which needs to be harnessed to capture this investment requirement. This has been implemented as a trial basis, or you can say that as an experimental basis. Indian Railways has borrowed from LIC rupees 1 lakh crore rupees, although the tax rates or the interest rates are higher, 30 BPS higher as compared to other financing institutions. But yes, IR has borrowed from LICs to fund its stuck-up projects. Then a new concept has also come up where, although the railway is central government subject, it is not under the state list, but railways has requested state governments that in some of the projects state governments get much benefit or direct benefit. So state government should also come up and invest in railway project, and for that some of the states, 17 states have come up and formed a JV kind of organization with Indian Railways, and they are funding some of their critical rail projects in their local area, in their local jurisdiction. So that has also helped meet the fund crisis of railways and the burden on central kitty. Funding a PPP in railway project has been very difficult for railways. For road, it is very common, as you all know. So many railway projects are on BOT scheme for quite some years. They are running successfully. There have been bitter experiences, but in general, you can say that private participants for rail projects are more. In railways, they are very, very less. Then investment from foreign investors, that is through foreign direct investment, is also coming in suburban rails, MRTS, high-speed dedicated freight trains and rolling stocks. Suburban rails, you see these metro rails or MRTS, the JICA and ADB are supporting us. There are even direct funding through Japanese investors. MRTS, that is the regional train system, there also private investments are coming. In high speed, again, the funding through JICA is there. In dedicated freight corridor, funding through World Bank and JICA is there. Locomotives, several countries like Sweden, Australia, and US are investing. So, if not in overall project, but yes, in some sectors, FDIs are coming and investing to meet out the fund required. So what is the, I have talked about the specific requirement of rail projects. I have talked about how a rail project is different than railway project, any road project or any other infra project, and what are the funding constraints for railways, why railways is short of funds, and why implementation of good railway network is important for reduction in logistic cost and environmental concerns, and what are the options available for funding a railway project. And then I have also summarized that what is the future plans for railways or vision for rail transportation in India. With this, I like to summarize and I'd like to conclude that be it a railway project or any other infra project in country, a robust project appraisal is must, where the cost benefit analysis has to be properly recorded and with reliable figures and facts. Then maximum use of technology has to be ensured, and latest technology. In fact, in some of the areas, what is happening that in the name of technology, we are just implementing the aged and obsolete technology. That is not going to help, because technology, especially the software and signaling technology, are fast changing. So we need to be very careful in that, and only the proven but futuristic technology has to be implemented. Then this is most critical, that vicious circle of underinvestment or improper investment has to be broken. Because once you are, say, if you have an asset, if you are having a car, and because of fund constraint you are not able to maintain that properly, what will happen? The car will run down and it will be useless much before its normal service life. So the regular maintenance and upkeep is required, and for that you definitely need some kind of fund. So you need to ensure that kind of investment, that your infrastructure are kept in good fettle. If you are ensuring good availability, assured availability of fund, then what will happen? That you will have the agencies and the stakeholders who are keen to get connected with you. Like if railways is projecting that it will construct new lines and it will construct so many additional infrastructure, then the stakeholders will invest in their technology, in their resources to participate in development of railway projects. But if you are not showing the assured availability of fund, what will happen? The prospective participants in your business or stakeholders will keep away, that railway is not a good paymaster. Why to invest in railway project? Let's go away and find some other alternative source of investment. They will go away. So the assured availability of fund is must. Then the rolling fund availability, that you need to create a system where the fund for the investors get rotated, they get some good return, then they again reinvest and connect. The realistic fund utilization is also essential. Some kind of cycle of revenue generation has to be properly inbuilt in your project and consideration. Most of the time we see we fail to appreciate that any private party who are getting connected with your project is connecting not with for charity, rather for some kind of revenue generation. So unless we ensure that aspect, our project or our scheme is not going to see the day of light. And lastly, the ultimate aim should be to reduce the logistic cost of transportation. So with this, I rest myself and open the floor for discussion. If any question, you are most welcome. These are the references where I have picked up the data, unless otherwise mentioned. And lastly, a disclaimer is that opinions expressed here are solely my own, and it does not express the views of or opinion of my employer. Thank you very much. Any question?
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. My question is a little bit different than that to this topic. I just would like to ask you that the high-speed rail that is always going on and that is going to be implemented, or the decision has been taken by the minister. Is it appropriate for our population, looking into the financial condition of 90% of the population of India?
Yeah,
Will
that's
it be a
what
beneficial in terms of the earnings of railways?
I have got your point. Somewhere in between, I touched upon this aspect that is it prudent to invest in high-speed rail system when most of the population of the country is not able to even get 2 square meals a day? See, a country is a conglomerate of people, different kind of people, and at one end you need to consider the welfare of your lowest situated person, and at the same time you also need to build a kind of capacity which makes your country comparable and strong enough to compete with other countries. Because if you remain clad in your this under poverty or underdeveloped group of people, what will happen? You will become third world countries of Africa or what? How you will compete with the countries like USA, China, and other things? For that, you need to develop the capacities, you need to develop the technology, and the implementation of this high speed is a symbolic to the very idea that yes, the country can build high speed system, can operate high speed system, and it is the need of the hour, because there are group of people who can spend a lot of money in travel or in they need facilities. So you need to address those people also. At the same time, you need to address definitely those who are really struggling to get the meal. So unless the government is cutting those 2 meals of masses and investing that money into high speed, it is wrong. But if both things are happening parallelly, that at one time your poverty-ridden people are also being addressed, and at the same time capacity for high speed is being created, it is good. It is good for the country.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I got the point.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Observation only.
Okay.
Sir, as you said that yes, there should be some trade-off, optimization everywhere, infrastructure versus poverty. So
Okay.
we cannot look down these things, that development of infrastructure is must.
Okay.
So then only we can improve upon all this GDP or anything else. Otherwise, the poverty also cannot be taken care of.
Exactly.
So both the things should go hand in hand, as you rightly say, sir.
Exactly.
Thank you,
See,
sir.
this 1 lakh crore project, which high speed is, it will generate new employment. It will generate new technology in the country. It will generate so many, what is called the ripple effect. It will have a ripple effect. And for this kind of project, I know the factor for my project, for freight corridor, it is about 2.5 to 3. That means I think it should be similarly for high speed also, that if you are investing 100 rupees, its impact in the general public or in society will be, say, about 3 times of that money. Because what will happen, see if a project is coming up. In that project, 100 of laborers will be employed. Then cement will be required. Steel will be required. Other shutterings, formwork, new technologies. Even the academic institutions have been involved in designing new technologies, in validating new technologies, in proof checking, and so many other things. So all of us are getting benefited, and ripple effect is about 3 times of that investment. So
thank
one
you very
would
much.
definitely welcome that.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Any other question?
Sir, myself Pratyay Konar, sir. Can I ask, sir?
Yeah, Pratyay.
Sir, regarding this, you were talking about this safety and criticality. On this point, I want to question this thing, that regarding this, whatever points were mentioned, but I am not sure that why this logistic management is not given any importance. I mean that how these logistics are handled by the railways, because I have got many complaints that their logistics are not properly handled and something damages are occurred and there is unnecessary delays due to some other things are there. My main question is that logistic management in terms of safety and criticality.
Yes, see, railways have been working since long, and as an insider, I can assure you that railway systems are very robust, safe, and and very much aligned for the passenger safety and the train operations. But yes, there have been some deficiencies, and that's what I highlighted, that because of capacity constraints, we are not able to run trains on time. We are not able to increase the average speed of freight trains. We are not able to carry much goods as required by the country. But yes, that's why this presentation, and that's why the big question that there has to be serious thinking in redevelopment of railways networks, so that the logistic cost and logistic infrastructure gets improved, and which will result in reduction in the cost. So we all are concerned about that, and we are striving for that. Yes.
Okay, sir. And one more thing, sir. In slide number 19, regarding, can you please share the slide, sir?
Yes.
Slide number 19.
Okay, let me show. Yeah, slide number 19. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Yes, sir. Sir, I am not able to understand this slide. Will you please explain this once again, if it's possible?
See, this is a bit of economic concept, but not that big or this thing. See, the pension funds, sovereign funds, insurance, and other institutional investors managed $50 trillion of global stock. What is that? You are very well, you should be able to comprehend that the costing of global stock market is about that much. That overall, say how much is the amount, or you can say the costing of the stock which are trading on stock exchange as on date. It includes all your banking sector shares, all your infrastructure, Reliance, Tata, whatnot, and then pharmaceuticals, then car companies and all. You add up all those valuations of different companies, right? So the total valuation of those companies or businesses or services being traded on a stock is $50 trillion, right? And out of that, the infrastructure companies are only 1%. So get that point.
Okay, sir, got it. You are trying to shift the capital from this field to there. I understood now.
Yes, 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 yes.
Sir, you have been talking about linear projects, railway being a linear project. So roadways are also example of linear projects, sir.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
sir. Okay, sir. I got it. Thank you,
So,
sir.
but the highways have little bit more flexibility as compared to railways, because highways can take, you can say, quick turns and change the alignment. It is not so with railways, because railways are running mostly straight, and the curvatures are not that sharp. It has to be very, very flat. Otherwise, the speed of train cannot be, speed and safety of train cannot be maintained. Right?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
One point I would also like to connect with all the faculty members, that in the presentation I am seeing that what is the future requirement of railway network, and what is the expected investment amount in the future projects, and all those requirements will put an expectation from the technical institutes to develop the technology which are at par, or which are able to sustain this kind of investment requirement, this kind of technology requirement. So when we started implementing this freight corridor project or any new project, even the highways, when we started this NHI about 20-25 years back, when mechanized road construction were started, um, they were having serious technological constraints. They were not having good equipment. They were not having even, you can say, the proper faculty members who were able to appreciate the requirement of high speed and heavy axle load road design. So, but now over the period, all those have been developed within the country. It's thanks to the technical institute, those who come up and they train their faculty, they researched the requirements and brought out the technical papers and the technical details, which in turn helped industry in further implementing those technologies. So this lecture should be taken as a trigger to go back to your labs, to go back to your research institutes, and look for the methods and technologies which will help implementing this action plan of NRP 2030. Yes, please. Any other question? Okay, so if there's no more questions, so with the permission of chair.
Uh, Yes, it seems that there is no any other question. So we may conclude the session with thanks from All India Council for Technical Education, Construction Industry Development Council, and the participants and their institutions. Really, the session was very informative, and as you told that this session will trigger a new idea, a new foundation of thinking on relatively a new area of study or thinking or project planning. So with these words, I would like to express our sincere thanks again to you, and we request that please spare some more time if we will receive any query from any participant to respond their queries, sir. With these words, really, we are very thankful to you and thankful to all participants. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. My email ID and mobile are there on the presentation, which I'll be sharing with the chair and the host of the session. You all may connect me anytime for any of the queries on this topic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, AICTE CIDC, for giving me this opportunity.
Thanks, sir.